We asked you if you got any questions for us, and did you deliver? We've had some pretty thorny ones. What are the categories we're talking about today, Sarah?
We've broken this down into questions that are practical, travel and money.
Yeah. And where are we? We're in Cheltenham. This is a classic racecourse in the UK, probably in the top 4 most important racecourses. And we'll explain later on in this video why we're here. We're not going to waste any time, got a lot to get through. First section, Sarah, practical, what we got?
We have a question from Omruk. What tech, not necessarily what we use for YouTube purposes, has made your slow travel or any travel easier, better or more fun?
You take the fun one. What's that?
Fun one, first thing springs to mind is we use an app for playing Rummy Cub. So we love Rummy Cub, don't we? Yeah. And now we can play it online. I'm sure people think we're completely ignoring each other when we're playing.
Oh, we're not. We're not. We're engaged with each other because I want to beat her.
I think I'm in the lead.
You always think you're in the lead, but if you know Rummy Cub, you'll know it's a tile-based game. If you don't know it, then it's a little bit like Rummy. That's where he gets his name from. Never thought that before. So if you play it on your phone, though, you can actually play with your friend. She could be anywhere in the world. Normally, she sat opposite me with a beer in front of her. But that's a really good one. I've got 2 more. The first is an eSIM makes things a lot more practical. An eSIM is basically a non-physical SIM that goes into your phone. The beauty of an eSIM is you can arrange for it before you get there, get it all set up. But I always remember back to this when we arrived in Kuala Lumpur and we didn't have a SIM card when we went for Malaysia.
A few places that's happened.
Yeah, that's right. Before. But remember we were trying to get rideshare.
Yep. What
I had to do was keep running back into the airport because I had Wi-Fi, arrange it, and then run outside. But I didn't know if he was... So that was always a bit tricky.
It's made life easier when we arrive in the country. We know we've got a SIM card.
Yeah, and something that I think makes it more fun and more interesting as well. So this is non-YouTube, but something that I'd maybe recommend people think about doing is get a 360 camera. We've got the Insta360 X2. Their latest model is the X3. Basically, you can stick it on a pole or walk around with it. It takes a little bit of editing afterwards, but if you're traveling and you just want to get the sense of where you are to share it with grandchildren or when you're old and grey, it's brilliant. You edit it down. The beauty of having a 360 camera is you haven't got to be an expert at framing because you can do all that afterwards. It's 360. You choose what the best view is and take it from there. That's the first question. Going to rattle through this. What's the next one? So we've got another one here from Rob Lowry. What are your top tips for hiring a car abroad? I'm about to retire and we plan on travelling, especially some US road trips. It's been 30 years since I drove abroad and that was in Florida. Okay, I remember driving in Florida 30 years ago. So any tips for hiring a car, Sarah?
I think the first tip, and really, really important, they always get you to go around your vehicle before and take any photos of any damage or anything, but we actually record it. We do a video and we walk around together and we talk about any scratches, any scuffs, bumps, anything like that, and we've got it recorded, so it's got that date stamp on it. We've nearly been caught out before, but luckily we have the video evidence to prove it wasn't us. And
when Sarah says you comment on it, just do a commentary. This isn't for you to release on the internet. This is for you. And again, if you've got a 360 camera, you're going to get all angles. You can put it inside and it will shoot the whole inside of the car.
Make sure you do the inside of the car.
Yeah, but what you can do is you could be stood outside with the camera and say, right, I'm stood here outside Europe car, just had a lovely girl called Doris who's checked us in and got us sorted out of the car. That way you're stating where you are, they can see where you are. And look, oh, there's a bit of a scuff. Look, oh, no, that's okay. And you just chat as you're going around the car. That's a really good one. The second tip, if you're planning to book a car, book it early. Use aggregator sites to do so. I find Expedia is actually pretty good. You get pretty good prices on there. And you can always cancel.
And keep an eye on it. Cause,
you don't have to book it thinking, well, I'm committed. You can always cancel those and rebook at a later date. But you've set your baseline and you can look back every week or every 2 weeks and find, then when you see the right price, jump on it. Obviously, always look at the individual sites themselves. I know Avis have got really good, their preferred service on there where you're building up loyalty points, that kind of stuff.
There's also another one. If you're based in the UK or UK driving licence, and that's get your own insurance to cover yourself.
Yeah, it's called car excess insurance. So this is the thing, when you're about to pick the car up and drive away and they say, are you happy with the insurances you got on the car? And you go, yeah. So you know that if you scuff a tyre, that's going to cost you $500. They come out with all this stuff. If you are from the UK, really good point, Sarah, get that car excess insurance. Just Google car excess insurance, lots will come up. You know you're doing the right thing when you do that, because when you're in a car rental firm and they say,
Right, okay, well, you know it's going to cost you 500 quid.
yeah, I've got car excess insurance, they look
Yeah, they don't
visibly
like it
annoyed,
at all.
which means you've done the right
Yeah.
thing. Right, next we got a question from KM. She says that she's curious about hotel booking sites and what we'd recommend. She's strictly an Airbnb person at the moment, but because of the fees that Airbnb are levying, somewhere between a half and a third of the accommodation cost, she thinks it's too steep. So booking affordably, clean and safe hotels is something she's open to. So what would you say?
Well, we use hotels.com when we're booking any hotels, and we use that because there is a loyalty scheme attached to that as well. Book 10 nights, you get one free, so that's really good if you're doing a lot of travel.
When it comes to being experts at this, gotta say, we're not experts because we, like you, are strictly Airbnb type people. But we've got really good friends who are experts at booking via Hilton.com. I think they've stayed like half a year in a Hilton and getting free food included and all kinds of stuff. So that's certainly worth looking at the Hilton scheme. Not something we've looked at. And I know if you sign
all
up
the
to
big
it...
hotels have a sign-up
Yeah, but I
scheme,
think
but
Hilton is a bit
IHG, isn't
special.
it?
If you sign up at certain times of the year, they give you thousands of points to get started with. Right, let's move on to the next question. And that is from Helen Rayner. We're planning our f.i.r.e. journey and long-term travel with Brits, expats living in Florida for 20 years. Blimey, used to the humidity then.
yeah.
But the question I have now is about maintaining medications. I take the usual for many people, blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, but how do we go about procuring these for long-term travel in multiple countries? I can't be the only one needs this, and I can't find any answers anywhere. Right, you come to the right place for some of the answers. So, do you want to kick off?
Well, we're both on medication that we need to make sure we've got enough supplies. So initially, we always make sure we've got 6 months. And the way I did that is because I order my prescriptions online. Mine is an asthma inhaler, and it just lasts me a bit longer than the actual prescription shows. So I'm able to get it quicker, and then I'm able to build up a stock.
Bank it, yeah. You're banking it.
So I've got a big pile like this at my mum's house, actually. So I just take 3 to 6 months. Now in Thailand, when we were there, I ran out. We went to a hospital pharmacy. It wasn't quite the same inhaler, but it's one I'd had previously.
Yeah.
And it cost me £25, I think, which is a lot compared to what I normally pay. But I was able to get it, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, so it's important to be on top of it. You're absolutely right to take this seriously. What we found is certainly in Asia, you can walk into... We were at an airport and there was a Boots at the airport, and I asked for my blood pressure tablets and they did it over the counter, no questions asked, and I paid for it. But you could always book a doctor's appointment. Anywhere you are in the world, you can book a doctor's appointment. If you've got your prescription there with you, they'll ask you a few basic questions and then they'll prescribe. And if you're living in the US, I'm pretty confident it's going to be somewhat cheaper. If you're American and you travel long term, just comment on this for this viewer down below. But I would say that you probably don't need to be front loading in the same way that we do in the UK, because you can probably get it cheaper as you travel.
So St Christopher of Atlantis asks, do you have any travel items that you wouldn't leave without?
This one, first of all, St Christopher of Atlantis is another YouTube channel, and we're going to be having them on our channel in just a couple of weeks' time, because we got some big questions for those guys. They do some very interesting things. So I've got one, I think you've got one. For me, it's a travel safe. Yeah, have a look on Amazon. Just search for travel safe and you'll find these things. This isn't to stop a hardened criminal. All you need is a pair of wire cutters. You're straight through it and away you go. But if you're thinking about people coming into your room, maybe cleaners or something like that, then you've put it in a safe place. Hide it as well. So hide it behind a towel or something. So you're
Just
not
peace of
putting it out
mind,
there.
isn't it? Yeah.
What's yours?
And mine, this sounds really, really daft, I guess, but it's actually a rubber sink plug.
I'll put it on screen. You can see what we're talking
Because
about.
the number of times we've needed that, it just seems, and I don't know if anyone's got the answer for this, but why don't most countries have plugs that go in the sink?
I can answer it. I'll
What's that?
put the answer in the comments.
Yeah. Do you know?
No, I'll tell it now. Yeah, because say you've got an Airbnb and you know just how absent-minded people are. You leave a plug there, they're filling up the sink, and then they go off to watch a bit of YouTube. They're thinking, I think To Go Rome got the latest one out. They're out there 15 minutes watching the latest To Go Rome Q&A video while the sink's filling up. The bathroom's getting filled with water. It's going through the floor, so that's why they do it.
But it's the kitchen sink. I've personally never left a kitchen
Okay,
sink.
I can answer that one as well. Someone's in the kitchen and they
think we
put
get
the
the
plug
gist of
in
what you're
and they
saying.
think, To Go Rome, they've got so give us another sink. Right, what's the next question?
Carol Jordan says, which hotel chains offer the best points programme? Just answer that, haven't we?
We've answered it. We
Yeah.
don't know, but we've got really good friends who speak very highly of the Hilton programme. If you know about this, again, stick that in the comments below. We can't be experts at everything. We can't be experts at anything. Next, we're going to talk about travel. We're going to talk about the psychology of long-term travel and travel generally. So the first question we've had is from Travel Junkie. What are the biggest downsides to the perpetual travel lifestyle for you, aside from the obvious one of missing family and friends back home?
I would say not driving. So depending on what type of travel you do, yes, you can hire a car and keep your practice up. But for me, I didn't drive for good 2 years, came back to the UK and drove for the first time. And I have to say, I was a little rusty. I'm a confident driver, but
You're a good
I was
driver.
a little rusty and had to sort of just make myself aware, it's obviously become second nature, but there was a slight problem there. And I thought if I'd left it probably 7-10 years without driving, that might be a bit of an issue. And I don't want to be not independent.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I've got two. First one is pets. Now, we do have friends who travel the world with cats, which is really cool, and other friends who travel the world with dogs, actually. For us, that adds a further complication into our travels that we're not ready for, I guess, but we miss pets immensely. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if within the next 12 months, maybe that...
No, Neil, no.
Maybe it changes. We will see. And another one is something that I'm just going to tease to say next week's video is going to talk about all of it. So I'm not going to give you anything on what the other thing is, which I think is a big issue with long-term or perpetual travel. But that is a total focus for next week's video. Right, we're moving on to the next question, which is from a toffee boiling dwarf. He says, how do you feel about the lifestyle you've chosen 2 years on flying out from Cancun? Are you as enthusiastic now as you were then? Do you feel any of the initial spark and shine has faded? We look at you and think that might be us 2 years from now. So any insights you have would be very welcome. So what have you got for that, Sarah?
I think the initial enthusiasm is still absolutely there. It just changes. There's nothing as the feeling of putting your out of office on, getting to the airport and going off on your holidays. Yes, that changes. Travel days become quite mundane, but the excitement and the enthusiasm to get to a new country and experience new things, new culture, new foods is absolutely still there.
I would counter that a little bit. We're allowed to have counter opinions on things. I find that the excitement of going to a new location isn't the same, because the more you travel, the more you realise that the world is a lot more similar to each other than it's different. So I know we talk amongst ourselves, me and Sarah, and we say, we'll be watching something on telly and we'll say, oh, that's that place in Turkey. Do you remember going there? And then you switch over the telly and you go, oh, yeah, we were there in Thailand last year. And sometimes we're talking to each other and saying, was that in Mexico we did that, or was that in Greece? Oh, no, I think that was in Malaysia.
Yeah,
And it's funny, I would imagine if we did that with other people around, they go, listen to them name dropping about their travels. But actually, when you're doing this, it does all become a little bit mundane to an extent, where if I'd heard me say that 4 or 5 years ago, I'd be going, wow, what a life he's got. But now it's just our life. And it's something I said in a video. Travel is, for us anyway, travel is not the thing that we do, it's the place that we are. What you do in life is very different. So we're going to different parts of the world and seeing it, which is great, but it's what you're doing while you're there. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but basically, if you say what we do is we travel, you're kind of missing the point, because everybody travels. They travel to work every day, or they travel to meet their in-laws and that kind of stuff. Travel isn't the thing. When you're there, what's the thing that's going to fulfill you? Do you know what? We got a video about that coming out in a few weeks too. Have we got you guys absolutely in our crosshairs for what's going to be interesting? Danielle asks, Sarah doesn't know this question.
I'm nervous at this when I don't know it.
How are all the countries you've visited so far? Could you see yourself living in any of them? If so, which one? And which has got the best food, in your opinion? And I think
I'm going to say.
I think we're going to agree on this. What do you say?
Greece, surprisingly. Greece for the food. I found it absolutely amazing. And just loved everything about Greece, apart from the whole language and not being able to understand a thing.
Yeah, so for me, I think the food in Greece is the best
yeah.
that we've had anywhere in the world. Absolutely love it. The Greek language is probably something that would mean that we probably wouldn't settle there. Are there other places that we've been to we'd settle? I think Turkey is pretty cool.
Turkey, maybe. Although the food surprised us there. We couldn't wait to get to Turkey because of the food, but actually it wasn't quite right, maybe after Greece.
And there's a place we're planning to visit reasonably soon that could be a place that we consider settling in as well. Right, move on to the next question. The next question comes from OM Rook again. Are you experiencing any travel fatigue, and are you planning to take another 3 to 12 month break from your travels the same way you're planning to spend an extended stay in Thailand? So what would you say about our stay in Thailand?
I think we did it on a bit of a whim.
Yeah.
It was like, great, we can stay somewhere for 12 months on a visa, let's just go and do it, and also get really fit by doing the core combat.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a, let's just do it.
Yeah, and again, if you go back to some of our really early videos, I remember someone asking a question, why have you said you're going to travel for 10 years? Is it just a strap line? It's totally because of me, because I live my life on a whim, and I can go anywhere and say, this is amazing, we should do this. So when we were in Thailand and we spoke to a bloke in a swimming pool and he said, yeah, I found a way to get a 12-month visa. We went,
you couldn't wait to get out of the...
We were there that day.
To get out of the swimming pool.
Sorting out a visa that day. We hadn't even discussed it. But coming back to the question, are we looking to slow... What was the question you asked? It wasn't slow down, it was...
take a break.
Yeah, are we feeling a bit of fatigue? No, I don't think we are. We may well look at... It
can be tiring. It's, certainly moving around.
Yeah.
We do it quite slow, so to hopefully avoid that. But
yeah, so not fatigue in that way. Again, if you look at next week's video, you'll see that there is fatigue to an extent, but not the travel itself. No. So we're going to keep travelling at the same pace we ever have done. We may well be changing things up. At the moment, we're travelling in the UK, and that's predominantly because we've got friends and family that we need to catch up. And there's a few kind of jobs you got to get done, of, taxes and all that kind of stuff. You got to just work on them, sorting out bank accounts. And
but
so,
just because we're back in the UK doesn't mean we're not travelling.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, we've never really spent any time in Cheltenham.
No, exactly. We remain of no fixed abode. Don't go thinking that we are living at Sarah's mum's house all the time. We haven't been there for a month or more, I think. Hang on a minute, just realised, I said early on in the video that I'm going to tell you why we're here at Cheltenham Racecourse and why it is one of the main things we do for travel. It's not actually for the horse racing. Me and Sarah, we both love snooker. It's probably a sport. If you're not in the UK, you don't know much about it. Aussies probably do, maybe some Canadians do. And one of the things we like to do with our travel is to travel around events we want to do. For example, one of the things I've always wanted to do is when the Winter Olympics are on, I don't want to go to it, but I always find it really interesting. I like to sit in a nice, warm location and spend 3 weeks, however long it's on for, and just sit and watch the Winter Olympics on TV, and I will do that one day. One of the other things I wanted to do is when there's a snooker tournament on, I would love to go and see the whole tournament. That's what we're doing here in Cheltenham. It's the UK Open, and we've come to watch every match, so that's why we're here. I said I'd tell you, this is what it is. Let's get back to the video. Ian Whitaker says travel plans for the rest of 2023 and also for 2024. What you got for that?
Well, our calendar's quite free at the minute.
We're looking to spend some time in the UK. We want to show people a bit of the UK, to be honest, and even going into the winter months wouldn't be too bad, would it?
Saying that though, we may just hop on a little plane over to Europe.
Yeah.
November time, December, something like that, just to maybe get a glimpse of the sun again.
Yeah, so that's a potential. And then for 2024, we really want to get deep into Europe. And this is because we spent a lot of time in Asia and we spent time in the US. We're still really keen to go into South America. It's often when you look at your own backyard, you realise just how great things are. For example, we've been really excited to maybe go to Canada. We spent a little bit of time in Canada. We went to Whistler and said how amazing and how beautiful this is. If you've been watching us any amount of time, you'll know we did a cruise to Norway recently, and we're in Norway and going, this is amazing. And while we were there, we were talking to each other and saying, hang on a minute, we could go all the way across the Atlantic and to the other side of North America to get to Whistler, or we can just come round the corner here to Norway. Norway's not far from the UK, and see vistas as beautiful, if not more so. So why are we travelling so far when we got so much on our own front
I think
doorstep?
it's because we all do it, don't we?
Yeah. So there's a lot we
closer
want to
it is.
see in Europe, and we want to see things outside of the norm. So, I mean, let me be clear. We got no interest in going to Rome. We got no interest in going to Paris or to Milan.
Not for any length of time. We may pop there for a day or whatever.
We might pop there, but we want to go off the beaten track a little bit. So that's our predominant thinking for 2024. We have got long haul travel plans as well, which will be towards the end of 2024. But that's what we can tell you though so
Got
far.
nothing booked.
That's it. And one of the things we love about our lifestyle at the moment is we don't have to have anything booked. We don't have, we're massive planners, but we can put the anchors on a little bit and do what we want to do. And, you know, it might come to it and we say, no, we're not going to do Europe, we're going to do something else. I think we are going to do Europe though.
Yeah.
Pretty confident. Right, let's move on.
Okay, this one's from Carol Jordan. Why are you back in the UK? Has the world travel become too expensive, too exhausting? These are the things I worry about before we start our travels in a couple of years.
Brilliant question. So travel has become more expensive, undoubtedly. Got to say though that if travel's expensive, the last place you want to come to is the UK. As I say, we're not staying with family or friends or anything like that. So we are paying travel costs to be in the UK. One of the things that we do as we go through this, it's almost like an experiment. It's our experiment. And important to note, it's our experiment. It's not your experiment. Everybody's going to be different. For us, we've said we want to travel for 10 years, but that travel can look very different in year 1 to year 2 to year 3. So we do investigate different ways of doing things, either from a cost perspective or from just keeping things fluid and interesting. There was a point in there where you asked about too exhausting. Like I've said with a couple of other questions, check back next week, we'll answer that. When you watch our channel over the next three to 6 months, you're going to get a lot more insight on that and how you can overcome and think differently and think outside the box. There, I've gone into corporate speak. Think outside the box. Right, what's the next question, Sarah? We've got Stephen Smith.
Stephen Smith.
How does your family feel about you travelling the world most of the year, not being able to see them all the time? Must be hard on you both and families at home. I do chuckle. Go on.
It's interesting because that was one of the hardest things when we started travel, and it still is. Yes, we miss everyone, and we're loving being back in the UK because we're catching up with family and friends. But I think after a while, this is our life now, and our family and friends think the same. It becomes normal life after a while.
Yeah, and I think that in my experience, family aren't that interested in our life at all, and this is probably this is a life lesson.
Normalised.
No, but I think this is a life lesson, and that is, it's not all about you. Everyone's got their own lives they're leading. They're thinking about what they're doing rather than how you fit in to their life. So if we take To Go Rome, for example, I'd say that if we were to line up all of our family and friends, on balance, not many of them watch it. They would be probably 20% of them.
How many of them are screaming at the TV going, we're watching it, we're watching it?
Comment down below if you watch our channel and you're a family and friend of ours, because that would tell the rest of you. It's normalised in so many different ways, even to the extent, this is a real negative for me at the moment, is we've been in the UK now for, I don't know, nearly 2 months, and I've not seen my brother. And I want to see him, I'm actually going to be seeing him in a week's time, but not in the right kind of circumstances. But because of circumstances around what we've been doing, I've just not had the opportunity, and I'm desperate to see him and spend time with him. And I can say that on here because I know he ain't going to be watching this.
He does. He
ain't going to be watching this. He won't be going, oh, he's getting all doughy-eyed over me. That won't happen. Don't worry about that. But I'm desperate to see him. But just circumstances meaning it isn't going to happen. We're going to see him probably in November. If you're watching this, Paul, that's when we're going to see you. Right, so we got one more in this section before we go on to the bit which is a little bit tricky when we talk about money. Harry and Charlene say, they've got a lot of questions. Right, let's just roll them all out and we'll answer them quickly. Neither do I. Do you have moments when you just have to take a break away from each other? That's the first question. 2, do you have any recommendations for beginning vloggers like ourselves? And they're going to be in London from the 30th. Hope we catch up one day for dinner and bevies. They're shouting it, Sarah, so we got them. Yes, we are going to meet you for dinner and bevies. Could you drop us an email to info@togorome.com and we will get that sorted out. So do we need to take a break from each other at any time?
No.
No. If you saw a video that we made in Sydney, I said that I can be a bit of a loner at times, and at the moment I don't get that opportunity to be a loner. Sarah's not a loner at all. She loves being with me all the
Attached to the
time.
hip.
Yeah, we are literally attached to
And
the
I
hip at
can't
the moment.
move.
Yeah. So I think I would like there to be 8 days in a week, and the 8th day for me to go away and think, because that's when I go and walk on my own. That's what I do, loads and loads of thinking.
But we do that occasionally. If there's, I don't know, I go and see my mum, for example, and then you've got the day to
edit,
be creative.
not to think, to edit. I'm
Well,
normally
yeah,
editing when you're
okay.
doing that. So, but it's not like there's friction and it's
No.
just give me space. We don't have that situation at all. Do we have any recommendations for beginning vloggers? Yes, yes.
What are you going to say?
Well, you're going to say don't do
Yeah.
it. No, I wouldn't say don't do it.
Encourage anyone to have a go at it.
There's advice we give to anyone that says they're thinking of doing something like this, and it's not advice you'll hear anywhere else, because I've not heard anyone else say it. Mistake I made, was we knew we were going to do this and we were going to be doing it long term. We recorded a vlog, we uploaded it.
I wasn't even with you. You just uploaded it.
I
And I
uploaded
was
it.
like, what?
And then the treadmill started.
Yeah.
It's like, we got to do the week 2 vlog.
Yeah.
And then we do that and we upload it.
Been
And
like that ever since.
we got to do the week 3 vlog. Best advice I would give you is record 10. It doesn't matter. No one's interested. No one knows you exist yet. Record 10. Don't upload them. Just keep them there. You'll find that you improve your skill set as you do so. I'm not saying don't upload them. I'm saying do. But once you've done 10 and you start working on the 11th, release number 1.
Yeah.
And then you're giving yourself a bit
wish
of
we'd done
space to do 12 and 13. And you can slowly drip feed these out, because if one of them you find we're making mistakes and it's going to take us 2 or 3 weeks, you got time to get there. That's great advice. Right, we're going to move on to money, and I think almost entirely I'm going to be answering these. So I'm going to give you this to ask the questions.
Okay, so first one, Carol Jordan asks, any tips you can give for ensuring access to money at all times using bank authenticator if you have a different phone number as you travel stroke health insurance?
Right. Okay. Yes, I've got a lot of advice on that. First of all, I will endeavour to link up here, but I may well forget to. Up here, I think it is. Endeavour to link a video that we made when we were in Thailand, where I tell a whole story about where we nearly got cut off by a bank. And you should watch that, because
That was pretty scary.
that was scary. So from a banking perspective, I recommend setting up a bit of a spider diagram of your banking. So, cut a long story short, we had one bank that fed every other account from there. That bank we nearly got cut off, which meant that our whole house of cards would come crashing down. So have 2 or 3 bank accounts that feed different credit cards and things, so that if one leg drops, you've got another. I used to work in resilience and disaster recovery, and this is exactly what you do in resilience. You think about, you lose leg 1, what's your secondary option? What's your tertiary option? That kind of stuff. So that's first thing. Authenticator, if you can use an authenticator app, I recommend you do it. And the one that I would recommend over and above any other is called Authy. And the reason for that is security flaws. A lot of the authenticators are things like Google, and it's all linked to your Google account. So if someone gets access to one thing, they can get access to everything. So Authy is really good. If you're based in the UK, then you can actually travel with your UK phone number. It's a system that we use all the time. We speak about them really highly, and if you actually look in our description below this, you can get a discount on it yourselves. We get nothing out of it, by the way. We've never been sponsored. We're not sponsored. And that's a system.
We recommend it.
Yeah, that's a system called Device or Expat Phone. That means you can take your phone anywhere in the world, and you can keep your UK phone number, which British banks love. And you can actually phone the UK with that totally for free as well on your UK phone number. It's fantastic. If you're in the US, I know people use things like Google Fi, but I know there are flaws and issues with using that as well. Hope that is helpful. You've also asked about health insurance. Not going to make any recommendations, really. We use Safety Wing, which is really good because it's switch off and onable. Safety Wing we like. There is also a link to that below. We have no affiliation with them. I think we had one person use it to sign up, and we got a nice kickback on it. If you want to use it, do. It doesn't cost any more for you, but there you go.
And the next one is from Keeping It Real. FIRE is all about having achieved financial independence so you can retire early. My question is quite direct, and I wonder just how much financial independence 50-somethings have actually achieved if they are having to apply to feed someone's cat and water their plants in order to stay in their house. This is more a penny-pinching travel solution I'd expect from a 19-year-old student on a gap year who has no savings. Are you really financially independent if you're now doing this? Free from formal work? Yes, but it doesn't feel like true financial independence to me.
So we can't speak for everyone. We know people that travel long term using house sitting, and there's a couple that I know that we know who they do a lot of house sitting in Paris. So they're right in the centre of Paris, and you've got to be pretty financially secure to afford to live in the centre of Paris. So I think for someone like that, that sounds really good. If the reference is to us, I think we said in the last video that if we look at the last 2 years of travel since we hopped on that flight to Cancun, we did a house sit in Mexico, which was I think 4 days. We did a house sit in North America, which was
3 days.
3 days. We did another house sit in North America, which was about 3 days. And we did another one in the UK, which was 10 days.
10 days, yeah.
So that's less than a month. And so I think that's probably okay from an independence perspective. The reason that we do the house sitting is so that we get that interaction with animals and pets. What we're going to be doing with it going forward, I don't know. But I would say, I'll tell you what, if we wanted to, we have no desire at the moment, but if we wanted to spend a month in Paris, I would much rather look at house sitting for effectively free, and as you say, not an official job, but a job. I'd rather do that than spend $5,000 a month for accommodation. That sounds to me a fiscally sound thing to do, but it's not something that we.
I think it's more fiscally rather than penny pinching. I think.
Well,
fiscally sound.
Not the reason we did it was actually the first one we did in Mexico. We had accommodation. We had accommodation there. We did that. So we packed up our bag from our accommodation, walked across town to look after the dogs, to get our fix of looking after dogs. But we were still paying for our accommodation. Once we finished that, we walked back and carried on doing it. So I don't think that's where we are. But other people I can't speak for.
No.
Right, he's got a load of questions here about the FIRE movement. So this is still keeping it real. So if you ask that and then go on to question one, and I'll answer it.
Okay. The FIRE movement is almost cult-like when it comes to adherents voicing their thoughts online. Two things I feel you hardly ever get from movement's members are, one, that their financial projections aren't really working out.
Yeah, so I think it's a fun thing about FIRE, I guess, is that while we were on our way on the FIRE journey, we were all about FIRE.
Yeah.
And actually, when I thought about a YouTube channel, I thought, it's going to be great to make a channel all about FIRE. It's going to be amazing. But actually, when you get to it, when you get to the other side, it's like, well, FIRE's not particularly interesting to me anymore because I've done it.
Yeah.
So the videos that we've made on FIRE have been a little bit of hard work for us to make because we're not that interested. And also the concept of FIRE is pretty straightforward. And, if you want my FIRE advice is read a book by a guy called J.L. Collins called Simple Path to Wealth. Job done.
Yep.
That's all you need to know. So I don't know about the financial projections aren't working out. No, so we don't view any FIRE content now. The only person I ever read, actually, is J.L. Collins. I find him interesting to read. So what's the next one?
Okay. And number two, that they are getting a bit bored with penny pinching and living their lives on a very restricted budget. What you instead get from the movement is that everything is exactly as they hoped it would be until they finally release a video stating that they've returned to work. I've seen this on numerous occasions when sitting through YouTube for the FIRE movement. Everything is apparently hunky-dory until they finally admit it isn't. Most people who give up work around the age of 50 will not be able to make the money last until they are 85.
We're not watching this kind of content.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested,
know, yeah.
if keeping it real, if you could stick in the comments below a couple of, because I'd be interested to see why it's not worked out
Yeah.
for them. I would say for people it's not worked out for, that would probably be because they jumped onto the FIRE movement but didn't actually understand it. It's a little bit like learning something parrot fashion or understanding it. So, you know, if you look back at our journey, there's a video I made a couple of years ago. If you look at it, I look like Superman on the thumbnail for it. And it's a kind of watershed video for us, because that explains a bit about how we started to understand money. We're not penny pinching. Well, one thing there is, when we did our first year of travel, we did something that we think a lot of people do. We've got other friends who I think made the
same
I'm going to say a mistake. I nearly said the same decision, and that was that we made our budget really tight. But it wasn't really an issue to make it tight, because we were going to low cost of living places because they're the places we wanted to get to first, and it was kind of fun. But
I was going to say, it was a bit more of a challenge then.
Yeah.
It wasn't an achievable challenge.
No point were we penny pinching, and we
wasn't that
we
was
brought
all
the
we
budget
had.
in. And then, you know, if we look at if we look at our last 6 months, if we look at penny pinching, we've been to Vegas, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK. So
Norway.
I don't think Norway. I don't think you can penny pinch and visit those places. It'd be nice to try. We do shop in Aldi and Lidl. I guess give you that.
Yeah.
We do penny pinching there. For us, I guess. When you say when people retire at the age of 50, unable to make the money last till the age of 85, this might be your understanding of what financial independence is about. It's not about spending down the money. It's about spending the money in a way that it looks after you for your life.
Yeah.
So for us, we've done this for a few years now, and we've got more money now than when we started. And if we look at it from a budgetary perspective, we are spending. If we take the 4% rule, which look back at another video we made, I say the 4% rule is flawed. I really do believe that. But we are not spending anywhere near 4% of our income, not of our
Investments.
wealth, our total wealth, let's say. I know you're speaking generally, and
I think
it's difficult for us to speak
returning
generally.
Back to work, it could be that they either find something else in their life that they prefer doing, and think, well, this is great, I can generate some income.
Yeah.
You know, I don't obviously know the circumstances there, but it could be that they absolutely do miss having something in their life. So it could be that, I don't know.
That's a really, really good point. So let's take, for example, us two. We've always worked a corporate job. And for me, more so than Sarah, I always struggled with corporate life, because I always felt I could do more than this. But I was always too scared to make that break, because if you leave the corporate world, it's difficult to get back to it. For me to switch out of that, it would be really tricky to get the same kind of role back.
To it, yeah.
But now we have retired. The one reason why we started this YouTube channel is I thought, certainly for me, I'm more creative.
Yeah.
Can we do something creative together that people will be interested
There are the goals that I wouldn't have got through work. So by doing this, we're achieving that.
Yeah.
So,
And there may be opportunities to monetize our channel at some point in the future, and I've no idea. But if we do that, the main reason we'll be doing it is because it's a game.
It's a challenge to us.
Like,
yeah.
we can do this. That's brilliant. If you ever hear me saying, anyway, so this has all been really good. I'm now going to be doing disaster recovery for a company. Then it's all gone
wrong.
It's all gone to shit, basically.
For you to go back to that, we're
But
desperate.
I think it's more likely that we'll be doing something with our YouTube channel, and that's purely for the fun of it, or looking after kittens that aren't very well. And there's not going to be a lot of money in that, believe me.
Right, we rambled there considerably. And number 3 then, once the initial euphoria of saying goodbye to the office routine wears off, other concerns start creeping in. Living out of suitcase stops being enjoyable pretty quickly, and that rootless lifestyle starts impacting the mind in negative ways. It's not a lifestyle for a 50-something who has been used to home comforts during the previous decades. I see signs on Neil's face, and even more so on Sarah's. I do not believe that they'll constantly be travelling beyond 2024. I suspect they'll be back in the UK doing some kind of employment, and this is not a failure on their part. It was simply because another change in direction.
be another change in direction. Right. Okay. So let's just unpack that. So the euphoria of saying goodbye to the office wears off. No, that hasn't worn off.
Every single day.
Every day we have that euphoria.
Yeah.
Concerns creeping in. Concerns crept in the first week that we didn't get a paycheck.
Yeah.
That was
That's a big
what have we
hurdle.
done? That crept in, but that soon stopped. Living out of a suitcase stops being enjoyable pretty quickly. Again, watch next week's video, and I've got some stuff to share on that. And the rootless lifestyle starts impacting the mind in negative ways. It's not a lifestyle for 50-somethings. I disagree with that.
Totally disagree with that.
I disagree with that totally, because we all of us have got one life to live. This is, unless you believe in reincarnation, which I do not, this is our one life. It's an old saying. It's not a dress rehearsal. For me, I can only speak for me. I didn't travel enough when I was younger, and I'm not willing to leave this planet without having seen as much of it as I possibly can. We absolutely adore travel, and we will be travelling for the rest of our lives, but probably less so as we get older and older.
There'll be different types of travel then. We still intend to travel for as long as we can.
Yeah, of course we do. Of course we do. So disagree with that. And any other 50-somethings watching this, if you're thinking of doing it, don't let this question put you off, basically. If you're someone who I'm guessing that keeping it real is not someone who's really into travel. There's a lot of people who aren't into travel, and I get that. But if you are into travel, this is fantastic. So you see signs on my face and even more so on Sarah's. Right. What I'd say about that is any signs you see on our face is where we're sat in front of a camera thinking about what it is we need to be saying next.
And for me, that's quite difficult.
For Sarah, that's a nightmare. What script we're saying. When we're in front of camera, there is very little that you see which is anything to do with our travels. It's about making a video. So when you see on my face, here's something you probably see on my face.
It's pain watching me do it, that's what it's
Something you probably see on my face is Sarah talking and me going,
scouring.
It's because this is the 5th or 6th time I've had to sit through her doing this.
No, it's true, yes.
So
then the pain on my face is because Neil's getting really, really annoyed with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know.
So it's that classic thing of not, this is a long video, but normally you're seeing 15 minutes of our week, and it's not a real 15 minutes. It's the 15 minutes where we're portraying to you. So
absolutely, whatever you do see on our face is not. Signs
it's
of
nothing to do with that.
Things.
So you don't believe we'll constantly be travelling beyond 2024?
Okay.
Cool, that's absolutely fine. I suspect you'll be back in the UK doing some kind of employment. You suspect wrong, and this won't be a failure on our part. Yeah, no, I get that. So
realise you're not big, realise it's a fair.
Everybody
absolutely.
is welcome to their opinion, and I think I said in a reply back to one of your comments that it's not my job to try and convince you otherwise. What I would say is, I hope you're here in 2024, 25, 26, 27 as we're travelling and go, oh right, yeah, they're still doing it. That's cool. Right, sorry, this is a long video, but let's go on. Carol Jordan says, will you do another video showing your yearly spend? I enjoyed the ones you used to do. Right, there's a few questions that come along saying the same thing. Okay. Right, we have got your back on this, so we kind of are hearing you all loud and clear about interested in cost of living stuff. So you're going to be seeing in the future, not at the moment, because we've got a load of other stuff we're working on at the moment, but we're going to start sharing in the future our monthly cost of living by location, and all that kind of stuff. All the stuff you all used to love. Yep. You're going to be seeing it. So, hope that makes you happy. All right, I'm going quick now because I'm just...
The battery's about to run out.
Yeah. That's mainly what I'm worried about. But also, I don't want this video to go on all day because I've got to edit it. That toffee boiling dwarf's back again. Apart from waking up in complete new surroundings, biggest change in our lifestyle since we started travelling is a need to really think about every purchase we make. Careful budgeting is a daily reality. One to reconsider for an occasional video, perhaps. Yeah, so we discussed this question the other day. For us, it hasn't been a big deal, actually, the budgeting. And the reason for that is because as we're travelling perpetually, there's nothing we want to buy. Give you a really good example. We took a cruise from Sydney, Australia to Vancouver in Canada. It's a 32-night cruise on a small ship. And 32 nights on that cruise, if you've been on a ship, you know what it's like. There's shops everywhere selling
duty-free stuff and
watches,
souvenirs, and
all the
merchandise and
all they're doing is saying, come along to this event. You've got champagne on tap, and we're going to give you everything 50% off. Do you know what? We didn't go in any of those shops for 31 days. We didn't go in any of those shops because we had no
Didn't need
interest
to.
in
There's
it.
nothing we needed at all.
We weren't even inquisitive.
No.
We went in there on the 32nd day because I thought we might be making a video about all this. So I'm going to go in there and just shoot me a video. I went in there, walked in the door with the camera and went pan and left again. We're not saying to you, look how virtuous we are. We don't, literally had no
don't need
interest.
anything, and when we do need something,
We'll go to a shop and
we'll
buy
buy
it.
it.
We do budget, but it isn't a key thing. Right, Ian Whitaker, blimey. Ian, you and your questions. Right, let's get through this. Ian says, can I request a future video showing yearly cost breakdown? Yes, you can. Overall, by category, compared to previous years. Yep, got it covered. Has your cost of living affected your budget for future travel, i.e., what's your full budget for 24 versus 22, 23? So 22 was our cheapest year so far.
Yeah.
Cost of living's going up, but also the fact is we've released the reins a little bit on our budget. As I say, we're not spending 4% rule, so we have no concerns on that. Cost of living crisis hasn't really affected us. I'll tell you, when we got back to the UK, personally, I was a little bit nervous because all the news I'd seen before we got here was, you know, you're going to get sticker shock when you go around. And actually, the only sticker shock I see is for fuel filling up a car. So there's that.
I think because
I'm grimacing, Sarah, because I think
the batteries had to go.
if everything changes and all the light changes, it's because I'm having to get
battery.
another battery. But
But
there we go.
you put me off what I was going to say.
Go on. So there is no sticker shock.
Because we've come back from the US and we've been in Australia,
Sticker
I guess that
Yeah.
it wasn't much difference when we were back, but certainly things have gone up, but it's not been too outrageous.
Yeah. If there's a lost decade in stock market growth, like between 2001 and 2013, will this affect your plans? Well, no, because something that I'm sure we said on a video early on, and actually the one where we talked about the 4% rule being flawed, is the issue I've got with the 4% rule. I just really boil it down to one thing, and that is that the 4% rule assumes that we're all robots. And the 4% rule says we are going to take this much from and we are going to adjust it for inflation. And that's not what humans do. If we think about people that are not on this financial independence route, people back in the UK, for example, who've got mortgages, they've seen their mortgages almost double over the last 12 months. 12 months ago, they said, oh, why don't we go to Florida and go to Disney World in December? Because that would be fantastic. Will they, in November, when they've seen their mortgages go up considerably, will they, like robots, say, we did say last year that we are going to go to Florida and we are going to do it because that's what we're going to... No, they say, it's interesting. We haven't quite got the money that we thought we had. Why don't we put Florida off till this time next year and see how things are? That's human. That's how humans operate. Yeah. So I'm sure we said in earlier videos that if things get tough, we'll pull in our horns like everybody. Yeah. And if you don't think that way, then you've got problems with how you're planning to travel, to be honest. You've got to think about all outcomes. And that's what my recommendation would be to you on that. There we go. We've spoken a lot and this battery is going. Yeah, next week, I've teased enough. We've got a lot to say about travel and whether it was the right decision for us and how we may change things up in the future. If you like this kind of video and you want more of this, let us know in the comments below. If you're new here, do subscribe. But we're going to be seeing you in the next video. You've been watching To Go Rome. We'll see you then. Bye.